Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Can Do Entertainment Presents May the Force Be With Who. Alright, it being Monday night, late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, we're going to get into Beatdown at the box office. So number one at the box office this week for the second week in a row was The Secret Life of Pets. Coming in at number two is the much maligned Sony reboot of Ghostbusters. At number three was Legend of Tarzan. No shit, that movie is hanging around. At number four is Finding Dory, which has recently become the highest grossing domestic animated film of all time. And at number five is Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. Alright, so wrapping up from Star Wars Celebration this weekend, and the first major news is that everybody's kind of disappointed that we didn't get a trailer for Rogue One. Or at least the mass community didn't get a trailer for Rogue One. We got the little behind the scenes reel that we were promised was going to be a trailer. But it was just sort of the little behind the scenes footage, 3 minutes of showing, explosions and cameras and yada yada blah blah, kind of like the Comic-Con Force Awakens reel we got last year. But the crowd in attendance at Celebration in London, they actually got to see about a minute-long trailer, which was just some, it got leaked on YouTube, and it lasted, I think, maybe an hour before Lucasfilm and Disney made him pull it down. But it was just basically some of the same shots we saw from the original trailer, and at the end it had a kind of Vader in shadow with the I did get to see the leaked trailer for about, the couple of hours it was up, and it looked like crap because somebody had their phone and it was just, and you couldn't really see. So hopefully Lucasfilm and Disney will release that trailer to the public within the next week, month, or they may never release it, and it could be sometime later in the fall when we get a full trailer, hopefully seeing Vader and more of the plot. But the big thing coming out of Celebration is that we didn't get a trailer, and yeah, it kind of sucks. Also, the big thing out of Celebration was the Rebels Season 3 trailer. My microwave's going off, so sorry about that. And the big thing out of that is Grand Admiral Thrawn is back in canon, so that is kind of awesome. And for those who aren't familiar with who Grand Admiral Thrawn was, he was introduced in the Heir to the Empire trilogy back in the 90s. That was written by Timothy Zahn, who, those books are no longer canon since, the acquisition of Lucasfilm by Disney. But they were a great trilogy. It was Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. And it was basically the story of Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was a Chiss admiral who basically ruled with brain over brawn, and he studied the artwork and the philosophy of a species or a race, and that's how he brought about their downfall. He was one of the best villains ever brought into the Star Wars universe. And when, the expanded universe was thrown out, when, Disney purchased Lucasfilm, everybody's like, oh, I hope they bring back Thrawn. I hope they bring back Thrawn. Well, we got Thrawn. He's coming into Season 3 of Rebels. And if you've not seen the trailer, and I don't know how you've not seen the trailer because it basically crashed the internet and it was all over YouTube all day Saturday. It was the big thing to come out of Celebration, that Thrawn is going to be in Season 3 of Rebels, and it's basically going to be pretty much the version of Thrawn that we're used to. And also Timothy Zahn is writing a new canon novel about Thrawn, so the man who created the character is writing a new novel about him, so that's going to be great. Now, will it be exactly the same Thrawn that we were used to from back in the 90s? Hopefully some of the same characteristics, but just tweaked to fit into this new version of canon. So that new Thrawn novel will be dropping next April, and Series 3 of Rebels will be dropping sometime this fall, I think October, where Thrawn will be the new villain. But also the trailer for... Damn, that microwave. Just shut up! Anyway, the new season of Rebels drops in October, and you get to see Darth Maul showed up in the trailer, Tarkin is back, Cham Syndulla, Wedge. So there's a lot of, classic trilogy characters that are starting to weave their way in, because, the timeline for Rebels and Rogue One seem to be converging on one another, and it's kind of curious of whether or not we're going to actually see any characters from Rogue One show up in Rebels, because the timelines are starting to line up. So, but that was really kind of the only big major news to come out of Celebration. A lot of people were kind of like, last year we got the big Chewie, we're home trailer for The Force Awakens, and this year we just got Thrawn, which it was awesome to see Thrawn as, a fan of the expanded universe. Thrawn was my favorite character besides Talon Karrde, which also came out of that Heir to the Empire trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn, and Mara Jade as well. So maybe, Mara Jade might be coming next, maybe Talon Karrde, but it's awesome that Timothy Zahn is going to be back writing in the new canon. Speaking of new canon, while I was streaming Star Wars Celebration this weekend, I did finish Aftermath Life Debt. And I have to say, it was an improvement over the first Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. And the core characters that we were introduced to in the first book, Nora Wexley, her son Timonin, who we will come to know as the character Snap Wexley, Greg Grunberg's character in The Force Awakens, we actually find out why he's named Snap. It's because he has an irritating habit of snapping his fingers. And actually, Wedge Antilles, who I mentioned will be showing up in this season of Rebels, is the one who gives him the nickname of Snap. Nora Wexley, her son Timonin, I don't know how you actually, the correct pronunciation on his name is. His advanced battle droid that he's cobbled together, Mr. Bones, Mr. Bones is kind of a psycho battle droid that he's pieced together and, wants to eviscerate people. Mr. Bones is kind of a cool character for a battle droid. That's part of the crew, as well as the former Imperial Loyalty Officer Sinjir and the Zabrak bounty hunter Jas Muri, I think is how you pronounce her name. They're all back, and they are the main focus of this story, Aftermath Life Debt, where they are going to the aid of Han Solo, who is trying to liberate the Wookiee planet of Kashyyyk from the Imperial Remnant. And yes, the Millennium Falcon is on the cover, and it's leading you to believe, hey, we're going to get a big full story about Han and Chewie saving the Wookiee planet. Sorta, kinda. Han and Chewie are in the book, but Han doesn't really kind of show up till about halfway through the book. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but our crew from the first Aftermath are the main characters in this story. But as I had a problem in the first Aftermath with Nora and Snap, or Timon's relationship being, he was all full of teenage angst about, oh, you left me to go fight in the rebellion and now I'm a pouty teenager. There is none of that in this book. They're getting along for most of the story, and that's refreshing, so there's none of that teenage, I hate my mommy angst, so that's great. And actually, this new crew, I guess that since, I've was introduced to him in the first book, I didn't mind them so much in the second book. And the Sinjir character, which he's the second gay character in Star Wars New Canon, and he's just the best character in the book. He's an alcoholic, he's a smartass, and he has the most character of all the characters in the book. And he's kind of my favorite character because he's just got snappy comebacks, and he's just real snarky and real just pissy, and just he's basically he's real good at interrogations and torturing people. So he showed there's a few scenes in the book, or there's a few pages in the book where he has to basically torture some people to get some information, and he really has he really doesn't like who he is anymore, but he's very good at what he does, and that's what he used to do with the Empire. So the book is a great improvement, and we do get a lot of Princess Leia in the book, and basically she's really pissed off at the Alliance, or excuse me, the New Republic, because as they're trying to get this whole new government, the New Republic, founded. There are basically a lot of politicking and haranguing, because she's like, hey, we need to go help my husband Han and the Wookiees at Kashyyyk because, they're enslaved. And Mon Mothma's like, well, there are other planets that need to be liberated besides Kashyyyk, and we don't have all the resources just to go help your husband and his walking carpet companion. And Leia, anybody that's a fan of Star Wars knows that Leia just ain't down for that. So It was an enjoyable book. I finished it in 2 days. It was a much better read than the first Aftermath, and it's basically setting up for the third book in the trilogy called Aftermath Empire's End, which is all setting up for the Battle of Jakku, which, as you remember in The Force Awakens, Jakku, the planet raised from, as all the littered carcasses of Star Destroyers and Rebel ships and everything, so that's what we're leading up to. And also, if anybody has read Claudia Gray's Lost Stars, there's a bit of the Battle of Jakku in that book as well, which I also want to recommend. Lost Stars, that's a great book. Claudia Gray also wrote Bloodlines, which I will be doing a review of that book. But real quick, I want to throw in that the Imperial Remnant is still being run by Admiral Ray Sloan, although she's being advised by a shadowy fleet admiral named Rax is his last name. And a lot of people are thinking, could this be Supreme Leader Snoke? And I don't know whether he is or not, but he's kind of pulling strings and manipulating the Empire from behind and wanting to set up a shadow council. And Admiral Sloan is not sure whether she wants this kind of shadowy leadership to be controlling her version of the Empire. So it's a much better read. We have some more of the characters we're familiar with from the original trilogy. Han, Leia, Chewie. Still no Luke in this book, and the characters that we were introduced into the first first Aftermath, they are much more fully formed. Sinjir is still the standout, and even the Imperial stuff with Gallius Rax, that's his damn name. Sorry it took me so long to remember. But he's a real shadowy character, and he has ties to Jakku, and there are some flashbacks to where he even has a connection to Palpatine, the Emperor. So it's all setting up for the third book in the trilogy, which will be Aftermath Empire's End, and that's going to be coming out in January. So I do recommend Aftermath Life Debt, and it does have those interludes like I mentioned in the first Aftermath, where it's just bits and pieces from other parts of the galaxy, what's going on. There's another interlude on Tatooine, where the man that has claimed Boba Fett's armor has now become sort of a sheriff. And we also get to catch up with the Rancor Keeper, which, wow, that's just what everybody was wanting. What's the damn Rancor Keeper up to? And also the Acolytes of the Beyond, they were introduced in one of the interludes in Aftermath, and I'm sorry I didn't bring them up last time, but they're basically a cult of Vader worshippers, and it's kind of wondering if maybe they might be the original group that might eventually become the Knights of Ren, because these guys, they're like a crazed cult that that worship Vader, and they're causing all kinds of havoc. And the interludes weren't as good in this book as they were in the original Aftermath, but it really doesn't detract from it because the actual story in this version of Aftermath is better than the original. So I'm going to give this book a 3.5 out of 5, so it's a definite improvement over the original Aftermath, so I highly recommend it. So if you're wondering whether or not to read Aftermath Life Debt, yeah, give it a whirl. So now, like I said, I won that trivia contest the other night, and I got a free copy of Star Wars Battlefront Twilight Company, which it's in-depth look at kind of the war angle, down and dirty aspect of it. So I'm a few pages into it now, so it's been a pretty good read so far. And actually, Alexander Freed, who wrote this book, is also going to be writing the novelization for Rogue One out this fall. So when I get done with this, I'll give you a review on that. And yeah, that's going to do it. Oh, the quick tie-in, and I'm sorry I forgot about this, but Tom Baker, former Doctor Who actor Tom Baker, the legendary Tom Baker, will be doing a voice in Star Wars Rebels, a character named the Bendu, or whatever, that big hulking thing that looks like a deer on steroids. So, sorry I didn't mention that during the Rebels part that I was talking about, but it's really late, and it's been a long day, so it's been a hell of a weekend. But anyway, if you get a chance, watch some of the Star Wars panels on YouTube. Warwick Davis was had a hell of a time on there with Carrie Fisher, the panel where they were reenacting scenes from Return of the Jedi, and her dog was attacking Warwick, the little, Willow Ufgood. It was hilarious. That was another standout from Star Wars Celebration. So it's all over the Star Wars channel on YouTube, so you might want to check that out. But anyway, I'm out of here for now. I'm going to go cut that annoying microwave off and eat some dinner. And yeah, that's all I got for now. So as always, keep on keeping on, and may the force be with who.